Outboard prices are crashing in one segment and holding firm in another. And if you cannot tell the difference, you are about to make an expensive mistake. The panic online says everything is collapsing. The reality is more specific and more useful. Some engines are repricing to reality after years of artificial scarcity. Others are falling because the market already decided they are obsolete. If you own an old two-stroke or an orphaned brand, this correction is dangerous. If you own a modern four-stroke with good paperwork, it's just noise. Tonight, we are breaking down the three forces driving this split. Which engines are getting destroyed? Which ones are barely budging? And what that means if you are buying or selling right now. The myth everyone is buying. The narrative is simple and everywhere. The pandemic bubble finally popped. Outboard prices that went insane in 2020 and 2021 are now crashing back to earth. Supply caught up with demand. Gravity won, market corrected. End of story. Directionally, that is not wrong. But factually, it misses the split that matters most, because the outboard market is not moving as one unified collapse. It is fracturing into three distinct segments, each with its own trajectory, and if you treat them all the same, you will either overpay or undersell by thousands. Let's start with what is actually measurable. Dealer inventory levels in early 2025 are sitting at roughly 18 to 24 months of stock. For many major brands, that is not normal. In a healthy market, dealers carry 6 to 9 months. During the pandemic frenzy, they were down to weeks. Now the pendulum swung hard the other direction. Days on market for used outboards have stretched from 30 to 45 days in 2021 to 90 to 120 days now. And discounts off asking price have widened from 5% to 12 to 15%, depending on the model and region. But here is the part the headlines skip. That average hides a brutal divide. Some engines are getting crushed, others are barely budging. The difference is not random. It follows three clear lines: new versus used, two-stroke versus four-stroke, and supported brands versus orphaned names. If you understand which side of those lines you are on, you can move with confidence. If you ignore the split, you are just guessing in the dark. The three forces driving the drop. Let's talk about what actually broke. First, the post-pandemic correction. In 2020 and 2021, demand for boats and outboards exploded. People trapped at home bought anything that floated. Dealers could not keep inventory on the floor. Manufacturers ramped production, but supply chains were wrecked. Parts delays, shipping chaos, labor shortages. So dealers placed massive orders based on abnormal, unsustainable demand, hoping to finally catch up. By late 2023 and into 2024, two things happened. Demand cooled back to normal levels as life returned, and discretionary budgets tightened. And all that inventory dealers ordered 18 months earlier finally arrived. The result is simple math. Too much supply chasing too few buyers. Dealers are sitting on metal they need to move, and every month it sits costs them money in floor plan financing. That pressure turns into rebates, financing deals, and quiet price cuts that do not show up in the manufacturer's suggested retail price, but show up everywhere in the real transaction price. Second force, interest rates and financing reality. Marine loans went from 3 to 4% during the pandemic to 8 to 10% now on a $15,000 outboard. That rate jump adds $40 to $50 a month to the payment. Over 5 years, that is thousands more in interest. Cash buyers, the ones who do not care about rates, largely disappeared as savings rates normalized and discretionary cash tightened. The buyers left in the market are financing, and they are doing the monthly payment math before they even walk into the showroom. Higher rates mean lower affordability. Lower affordability means dealers have to discount harder just to hit the payment number buyers can stomach. Third force, and this is the one almost nobody planned for. The technology shift that is creating hesitation even among buyers who can afford it. Electric outboards are entering the market. They are not mainstream yet. Range is limited. Charging infrastructure is thin, but the perception is spreading that internal combustion might not be the future. Add in newer four-stroke models with dramatically better fuel economy than anything built 5 years ago, and suddenly buyers are asking themselves if they should wait. Should I buy this year's model or wait for next year's efficiency bump? Should I go gas or wait for electric to mature? That hesitation, even if most of those buyers never actually choose electric, stalls demand. And stalled demand in a flooded market accelerates price drops. So we have got dealer inventory pressure, financing squeeze, and a technology perception shift all landing at once. That is the storm. But it is not hitting everything equally. Some engines are getting destroyed. Others are weathering it fine. If you know which group your engine is in, you can either grab a bargain or get out before values slide further. If you don't, you're just guessing. Let's break down who is winning and who is losing. The engine's getting hammered. Start with older two-stroke outboards, especially anything built before 2010. These engines are facing a perfect storm of their own. Insurance companies are increasingly hesitant to cover older two-strokes, particularly in regions with strict emissions enforcement or environmentally sensitive waterways. Some carriers flat out will not write policies. Others will cover liability, but not the engine itself. That is a problem because marina slips often require full coverage, and buyers financing the purchase absolutely need it. Add in the parts availability question. For engines from active manufacturers like Yamaha, Mercury, Suzuki, and Honda, parts are still flowing. But for older two-strokes from brands that no longer exist or that have been absorbed and discontinued, finding parts is turning into a scavenger hunt. Owners know this, buyers know this, and that knowledge is killing resale values. Even some early four-strokes are feeling it. A late 2000s Yamaha 154-stroke that was worth $8,000 in 2021 can now sit at $4,500 and not move. Not because the engine is bad, but because buyers compare it to newer, more fuel-efficient models that dealers are now discounting with full warranties. Orphaned brands are in free fall. Johnson, older outboard Marine Corporation products. Anything without a clear parts pipeline and dealer network. These engines might run perfectly today, but buyers are pricing in the risk that 5 years from now, when something breaks, they are hunting eBay for used parts or fabricating solutions. In a market where buyers have options and time, risk is a deal killer. High-hour used four-strokes are also getting hit. The calculus is simple. Why buy a used engine with 1,500 hours that might need a rebuild soon, when dealers are discounting new engines with full warranties? If the price gap narrows to $3,000 or $4,000, the smart money goes new every time. That is putting a ceiling on used pricing that did not exist when new engines were impossible to find and priced at full freight. And then there is the overpowered trend that is reversing. During the boom, buyers spec'd engines they did not need. 300 horsepower on a boat that runs fine on 250. The bragging rights were worth the premium. Now, those oversized engines are harder to move because practical buyers are doing fuel cost math and realizing they do not want to feed an extra 50 horses they will never use. Walk into the used market today and you will see this segment everywhere. Engines priced aggressively, sitting for months, getting relisted with new desperation language. Motivated. One seller in Michigan listed a Yamaha F 150 at $6,800, dropped it to $5,200 over 2 months, and finally sold it for $4,600, simply because buyers now have options and time. That is not a collapse in the sense that everything is worthless. It is a repricing to reality where the buyer has all the leverage and the seller is learning that 2021 pricing is gone and not coming back. The engine's holding value. Now flip the script. Low-hour modern four-stroke outboards built after 2018 are barely flinching. Yamaha, Mercury, Suzuki, Honda. If the engine has under 300 hours, a clean maintenance history, and a transferable warranty, it is still commanding 80 to 85% of new pricing. Why? Because the buyer is getting a nearly new engine at a 15 to 20% discount with proof it was cared for. That is a rational value proposition, and rational value holds up even in soft markets. Small horsepower kickers and trolling motors have remained sticky across the board. 9.9 horsepower kickers, 15 horsepower trolling setups. These engines are always in demand because they serve a specific need, they are affordable, and they last forever if maintained. Used pricing on this segment has barely moved because the buyer pool is broad and the supply is limited. Warranty transferable engines are commanding premiums that would have seemed small during the boom, but are massive now. A 5-year Mercury warranty or a Yamaha transferable coverage package adds real, measurable value because it removes the single biggest fear a used buyer has. What if it breaks? And I am stuck with a $5,000 repair bill. Warranty answers that question. No warranty means the buyer is pricing in that risk, and risk is expensive. Popular models with clear parts availability and strong dealer networks are also holding better than the average. Yamaha F150, F200, Mercury Verados lineup, Suzuki DF 175. These are the Hondas and Toyotas of the outboard world. Ubiquitous, reliable, supported everywhere. Buyers trust them, mechanics know them, and parts are never more than a phone call away. That trust translates directly into resale value. And finally, clean maintenance history is now the single most important factor in used pricing. Receipts for oil changes, lower unit services, impeller replacements, winterization. A seller who can hand over a folder of documented maintenance is separating their engine from every other listing that just says, runs great. In a market where buyers have time to be selective, Proof Beats promises every single time. So, while one half of the market is cratering, the other half is just experiencing a normal, healthy correction. Prices came off the pandemic peak, but they are not collapsing. They are stabilizing at a level that reflects real value, not artificial scarcity and panic buying. The dealer desperation playbook. Let's talk about what dealers are doing right now to move metal. Because this is where the opportunity lives if you are buying. Dealers are sitting on inventory that costs them money every single day it does not sell. Floor plan financing, the loans dealers use to stock their showrooms, carries interest. That interest accrues monthly. The longer an engine sits, the more it costs. Eventually, the dealer hits a point where they would rather take a loss on the sale than keep paying to store it. That is why you are seeing 0% financing deals that did not exist 2 years ago. The dealer or the manufacturer is eating the interest rate to make the monthly payment affordable enough to move the unit. You are seeing free rigging packages worth $2,000 to $3,000 thrown in as sweeteners. Extended warranties that used to cost extra are now included to remove buyer hesitation. Trade-in overvaluation games, where the dealer gives you more for your old engine than it is worth, then buries that cost in the new engine price, creating the psychological win that closes the deal. End-of-season fire sales used to happen in October and November. Now, that pricing pressure is year-round because the inventory problem is year-round. Manufacturers are leaning on dealers to hit quotas. Miss your quota, and you lose rebate money, co-op advertising dollars, and priority allocation for next year's hot models. That pressure flows downhill to the sales floor, and it shows up as aggressive pricing and willingness to negotiate that was unthinkable during the boom. Regional differences matter here. Florida and the Gulf Coast are seeing the deepest inventory gluts and the softest pricing because the market is saturated and storage costs are low, so dealers can afford to sit longer. The Midwest and Great Lakes region is more balanced. Demand is steadier, inventory is tighter, and winter storage creates natural seasonal pressure that clears stock. The Pacific Northwest is smaller and steadier. Pricing is softer than the peak, but not collapsing. If you are a buyer right now, this is the best leverage you have had in years. But only if you are targeting the right inventory, new dealer stock, not used private sales. The deals are on the showroom floor, not Craigslist. What this means for buyers. Let's make this tactical. If you are in the market for an outboard, here is the sequence that saves you thousands. First, target new dealer inventory, not used private sales. Right now, the gap between new discounted pricing and used asking prices has collapsed. You can often get a brand new engine with full warranty for only 10 to 15% more than a 3-year-old used engine with no coverage. That is not a hard call. Second, negotiate hard. 15 to 20% off manufacturer's suggested retail price is not unrealistic right now, especially on models that have been sitting for months. Start lower than you think is reasonable. Let the dealer counter. Be willing to walk. They need the sale more than you need that specific engine today. Third, focus on warranty-heavy models. Mercury's 5-year coverage, Yamaha's transferable warranties, Suzuki's strong support network. These are not just nice-to-haves. They are real financial protection that adds measurable value the moment something goes wrong. Fourth, avoid orphaned brands, no matter how cheap they look. A Johnson or an old Outboard Marine Corporation engine at half price is not a deal if you cannot get parts in 3 years. You are buying a ticking time bomb dressed up as a bargain. Fifth, get pre-approved financing before you fall in love with a specific engine. Know your real monthly cost. Know what rate you qualify for. Do not let the dealer control the financing conversation, because that is where they make back the margin they gave up on price. Sixth, buy the horsepower you actually need, not the trend. If your boat runs fine on 150 horses, do not pay the premium for 200, just because it sounds better. Fuel costs, maintenance costs, and resale value all scale with horsepower. Bigger is not always better. Seventh, time it right. Late fall and winter are maximum dealer desperation months in regions with seasonal boating. Inventory has been sitting since spring. Floor plan costs have been accruing for months. Year-end sales targets are looming. That is when you get the best deal. Now, the traps to avoid. Too good to be true, used pricing almost always hides problems. Compression issues, water intrusion, undisclosed accidents. If a seller is pricing 20% below market, ask why. Second trap, buying old two-strokes just because they are cheap. You will spend the savings on insurance headaches, parts hunting, and fuel costs within 2 seasons. Third trap, falling for this deal expires tomorrow pressure. It does not. Inventory is not moving. That same engine will be there next week, and if it is not, another just like it will be. Fourth trap, skipping compression testing and service history verification. Spend the $200 on a pre-purchase inspection. It will save you thousands in surprise repairs. What this means for sellers. If you are trying to sell a used outboard right now, let's be direct. Your 2015 engine is not worth 2021 pricing anymore. It is just not. The market has moved. Fighting that reality means you sit and watch your engine age another year while paying storage, insurance, and opportunity costs. Documentation is everything now. Service records, receipts, maintenance logs, these are not nice extras. They are the difference between a buyer who engages and a buyer who scrolls past. A well-documented engine with average hours will outsell a low-hour engine with no records every time, because trust is the scarcest commodity in this market. Low hours matter more than they used to, because buyers can afford to be picky. They are not settling, they are choosing. If your engine has 1,500 hours and the one next to it has 300, guess which one gets the call. Clean presentation is baseline now. Staged photos with good lighting, detailed listings that answer questions before they are asked. Honesty about flaws because buyers will find them in person anyway. And discovering something you hid kills the deal faster than listing it up front. Price to lead the market down, not chase it. Watch your local comps. Watch days on market. If engines like yours are sitting for 90 days, you need to price below them to get attention. Waiting for the market to come back to your number is not a strategy, it is hope. And hope is expensive. Target serious boaters, not flippers. Enthusiasts who value maintenance history and understand what they are buying will pay more than someone just looking for the cheapest option to resell. Position your listing to attract the right buyer, not the most buyers. If you are trading in, dealers are desperate for clean used inventory right now. Their used lots are thin because private sellers are holding out for higher prices that are not coming. A dealer trade might actually beat the hassle and time cost of a private sale, but verify their offer against current sold comps, not asking prices. Do not let them lowball you just because they are overstocked on new units. Quick question. What are you seeing in your local market? Dealers overflowing or tight inventory? Drop your observations in the comments because regional data helps everyone make better calls. And if this breakdown is cutting through the noise, tap like, so I know to keep making these instead of just screaming collapse. Hit subscribe because the next episodes cover negotiation scripts that work right now and the exact models offering real value. Where this goes next. Short term, the next 6 to 12 months, expect continued softness as dealer inventory clears. Manufacturers are already cutting production for 2026. That will tighten supply eventually, but the correction has to finish first. Until dealers get back to 6 to 9 months of stock, pricing pressure remains. Medium term, 1 to 2 years out, we will see stabilization at a new baseline, roughly 10 to 15%, below the pandemic peak in real terms. The wildcards that could shift this timeline are worth watching. Electric outboard adoption curve. If battery technology improves faster than expected, internal combustion resale values could take another hit. If it stays niche, which seems likely for now, it is just noise. Emissions regulations tightening further, especially in Europe and environmentally sensitive regions, could kill older two-stroke values even faster. Insurance market changes could swing either way. If carriers relax on older engines, values stabilize. If they tighten further, the floor drops. And interest rates, if they fall back toward 5%, financing becomes easier and demand ticks back up. The new normal is this: lower prices are sticky. They are not snapping back to 2021 levels. Buyers have recalibrated expectations. The market has too. Anyone pricing or buying based on peak pandemic values is fighting a battle that is already lost. We are also watching a consolidation phase. Smaller outboard brands that could not weather the inventory glut and the financing squeeze are going to disappear. When they do, parts for those engines become problems, and resale values collapse. This is not speculation. It is the pattern that plays out in every industry correction, the uncomfortable truth. Outboards are not suddenly cheap. The wrong outboards are suddenly cheap. The engines we talked about earlier, the old two-strokes, the orphaned brands, the high-hour units with no maintenance records, those are the falling knives. Catch them because the price looks good, and you lose money slowly over years of parts hunting and insurance battles. Modern four-strokes with warranties, clear support networks, and documented care are soft but stable. They came off the peak, but they are holding value because they still represent rational purchases. New dealer inventory is the actual opportunity right now if you negotiate hard and target the models dealers are desperate to move. Smart money does not chase crashes. Smart money reads the split and acts accordingly. What are you seeing in your region? Dealer lots overflowing or certain models holding strong? Drop your observations in the comments, because local data helps everyone. If this breakdown cut through the noise, tap like so I know to keep making these. Hit subscribe because the next episodes cover negotiation scripts that work right now and the exact models offering the best value.